Okay, so firstly, thank you to Kinza and Hamna for their presentation. I thought they did really, really well, and they've put loads of work into prepping this debating competition. So please do make sure that you support that. Now, welcome back. I hope you had a lovely half term and that you got some rest. Your first year in sixth form is really intense and so different to year 11 in lots of ways. It can be incredibly tiring. Last half term was really short, as is this half term. This half term is actually only 5 weeks long. However, it's amazing how short half terms can end up being incredibly busy. So I really hope you had a good break and you feel refreshed and ready. If you had a really tough half term, and I know some people did, then firstly, I'm so sorry to hear that. We see you, we hear you, we're here for you. Please make sure that you speak to your mentor or a trusted adult to seek the support you need. Laura Mitchell, our post 16 counsellor, is now working 3 days a week rather than two, so she has extra capacity. If something has come up over the half term, that means that you need that support. Please do either ask one of us and we can refer you, or complete the self-referral form and refer yourself. A reminder that that is a completely confidential service. I don't know who's accessing the service. Your parents or carers won't be informed. The only time the confidentiality would be broken is if you disclose something that puts either yourself or another person in genuine danger, and that would be discussed with you beforehand. So if you want to speak to the counsellor and you're worried about confidentiality, then that option is absolutely available. So please do seek that support if you need it. Right, today, Period 6 talk is being given by Gavin Bell. He is a physics professor, I want to say the University of Warwick, one of the local universities. Anyway, he's going to talk about some interesting university level physics. Please do come. If you study physics or maths, or you're interested in doing something like engineering at uni, this is so relevant to you and you absolutely should be there. So please make sure you do attend that today. Right then, the school focus for this half term is punctuality. I'd like to remind you that punctuality is a basic mark of respect and a sign of integrity. Integrity is one of the school core values, and if you are not being punctual, then you are not showing integrity. Now, most of you in year 12 are on time to school in the morning. There's probably 4 or 5 of you who are regular customers in the late detention, but the majority of you make it to school on time. Although I was stood on the late gate until 8:50 this morning, and I would remind you that I did see quite a few of you sneak through after 8:45. You will have received a letter this week telling you that you need to be through the gate by 8:40. The reason for that is being through the gate by 8:40 will enable you to be in your classroom ready to start personal development period by 8:45. So please make sure you're doing that. However, the sixth form big problem at the moment is that a number of you are frequently late to lessons during the school day. So you arrive at school on time, but you might be 5, 6, 7 minutes late to lessons. And obviously that's a problem. And I'd like to come back to this being a mark of respect. Now, I'm not going to stand here and calculate the number of hours you miss across the year if you're 5 minutes late to every lesson, because you know that and you've heard it before. But there is genuinely a clear correlation in the exam results every year. If you correlate attendance and punctuality against outcomes, there is a very clear correlation. This does genuinely make a difference to your results. Now, moving forward, this is what I'd like you to do. If you go out for lunch, which you are absolutely allowed to, you must be back in time. Now, every year I get asked to stop the sixth form going out for lunch because of punctuality on return. Every year. And I fight against that because fundamentally you are adults. 99% of you are back on time. And I hate the idea of punishing the whole sixth form because of the behaviour of a few. But if you are regularly late back from going out for lunch, you will be banned. And the staff in the gatehouse will get a picture of you and will be told that you are not to go out for lunch, and will write home and confirm that. So if you choose to go out for lunch, you must be back in time. Now, let me be clear. That doesn't mean you're back through the gate at 1:15. That means you are back through the gate early enough that you are in your classroom at 1:15. So I would say that probably means you want to be back on site at 10 past so that you have time to walk to your classroom. The other thing is it is not acceptable for you to arrive back at 1:15 with a massive pizza and then eat it and then go to your lesson. 1:15 is study time or lesson time. So you are welcome to go out, and I will continue to fight against banning you as a sixth form, but if you are regularly late, you will be banned. Secondly, you must be on time to lessons. This means moving before the bell, especially if you are having lessons in main school. Now, having T block is a real privilege. Having T block is great because we have this gorgeous space, and T block is nice, it's clean, it's calm. We have this lovely space for the sixth form only, but it is out the way. And that means that if you're walking to, say, science or maths or E block particularly, you have to set off with enough time that you can arrive there on time. If you don't move until the bell goes, you start shuffling, you're going to be 5 minutes late to your lesson. The walk from T block to E block takes at least 3.5 minutes. And so it's really important that you take responsibility for moving before the bell so you can be at your lessons on time. I can absolutely guarantee you, all of you have got a phone which tells you what the time is. When you're in T block, you are allowed to check your phone for the time. And so you need to take some responsibility for this. I have asked teachers to log precisely how late you are so we can track this. And if necessary, we'll start writing home, putting in more sanctions. I'd much rather just give you a warning and this improve. But if it doesn't improve, then we're going to have to take a harder stance, because it is really disrespectful to your teachers to be late every lesson. A reminder that if you're late twice in a week, you will get a Friday detention, and that's supervised by either myself, Mrs. Gossel, or Mr. Shepherd. And we do take phones off you for that detention. So please make sure that you're really conscious of your punctuality. So work shadowing. Work shadowing is the first week after May half term. Firstly, we have one official work shadowing week. However, I encourage everybody to do as much work shadowing work experience as possible. Excuse me. I would say that work experience is the thing that will make the biggest difference to your career and to your employability. Now, there are certain careers, if you want to study medicine, you need to get top grades, obviously. And there are certain careers for which your grades are incredibly important. But generally, work experience in the workplace, experience on the ground is the biggest thing that you can do to prepare yourself for your future. I reiterate what I've said a few times, that I encourage everybody to find a regular work experience placement that you can do one afternoon per week during your study periods. I will absolutely authorise that. I'm not going to authorise you to come out of lessons on a regular basis, but I will absolutely authorise you to do work experience one afternoon per week. And if you have other placements that sit outside the designated work experience week, I will authorise that unless it clashes with something like exams. Anyway, the formal work experience week, as I said, it's the first week back after May half term. It is a compulsory part of your education. It's incredibly beneficial and essential for your future. Every year, we have people who get to apprenticeship applications or whatever and suddenly realise they've not done enough work experience to fulfil the criteria that they've been set. So please make sure that you are thinking very carefully about getting some work experience. If you have a particular pathway in mind, you want to do an apprenticeship, for example, have a look online. We had the assembly about apprenticeships fairly recently, back in the autumn term, where they talked to you about how to find details of apprenticeships on the gov.uk website. Have a look and see what the requirements are in terms of work experience, because some apprenticeships require work experience before you can apply. So where to start? Firstly, you need to prepare a CV and a covering letter, because you will contact loads and loads of work experience placements. In a minute, I'm going to talk to you about your CV. Think about where you want to go. It is important that your work experience is relevant. If you want to be an engineer, look for an engineering company. If you want to do something in law, look for a law firm. Now, you can be really creative with this. Every year, people say to me, oh, I'm not going to be able to get any work experience in psychology. Now, it's true that you're not going to be able to sit in medical appointments where people are talking about their physical situation or their mental situation in terms of psychiatry, because safeguarding rules don't allow that. But you might be able to go to a university and do some work experience with their psychology department, for example. So even if there isn't an obvious and easy route through, you often can find relevant work experience. If you want to do work experience in finance and you can't find a bank that will take you, or a financial advisor or something, every single company has a finance department. Every single company has accounts. And so you could go to somewhere that you don't immediately think finance. You go to somewhere like Severn Trent or JLR or any of the local companies, Cadent, and ask to work with their finance team. So again, you can be really creative, but please make sure your work experience is relevant. The best thing you can do is be cheeky, write to or telephone loads of people, send your CV and covering letter off, and then 3 days later, if you've not heard back, pick up the phone, give them a ring. Don't just send an email. Go in. If it's somewhere nearby, if you want to do pharmacy and there's a pharmacy down the road, go in and ask them in person. If they say no, persevere. Don't keep going back to the same one once they've said no, but go to another pharmacy, go in person. You have to be really persistent and cheeky. Getting work experience placements is much harder than it used to be, but every year most people manage it. And the way that you manage it is by being persistent. The code for the Careers Google Classroom is there. Mrs. Kang updates it with information about work experience. So please do join that Google Classroom. I'm going to leave it on the screen just for a minute for you to join it now. Okay, hopefully you've all joined that. So writing a CV, what to include? Firstly, contact details. You would not believe how many people write a CV and forget to put on it how the company can get back to them. So please make sure it has got your up-to-date and accurate contact details. It's sensible, especially for work experience, to have a brief profile statement outlining relevant skills and achievements. What you will find is popular companies will have a ton of people contacting them. I have made sure that as many schools, so I speak to quite a lot of heads of sixth form, and as far as I know, our work experience week doesn't clash with any other schools, but there's 200 of you, and lots of you will want to go to the big companies nearby. So to make you stand out, write a statement outlining relevant skills and achievements, basically why you would be a good person for work experience. Education, talk about that. Any other work experience you've got, skills and achievements, relevant interests. Now this one is quite hard to tailor. Often students find this quite upsetting. Now if you're applying to say, I don't know, if you're applying to a doctor, the fact that you were in the chess club in year 7 probably isn't particularly relevant, but you've probably done a load of relevant reading. You've probably done some online work experience. You might be part of Medic Mentor. Excuse me. So please make sure that your relevant interests are the ones that you put on your CV. You can put your mentor as a reference. It's very rare that work experience placements actually ask for references, but it's worth popping your mentor down as a reference. And we'll talk about this in more detail over the coming weeks, but do start thinking about it. It's very common for work experience placements to require a CV. So if I were you, if you don't have one, I'd get on with it now. If you do have a CV already, before you start sending it out, spend a bit of time thinking about whether it is still relevant, whether it's relevant to the specific placement you're applying for. If you made a CV because you applied for a part-time job a year ago or something, probably the relevant interests for that part-time job will be different to the relevant interests for this. So make sure that you update it if it's not updated. So a few little tips. Firstly, make sure that you use active verbs. So a lot of writing a CV is about demonstrating impact. So rather than saying I have skills with Excel or a programming language, you can demonstrate I have created this, and that shows the impact of that skill and demonstrates you've got that skill to a certain level. Because what you want to avoid is basically people being able to say, so what? So I can use Excel, so what? Whereas I have used Excel to create a spreadsheet to track my revision or something like that. That demonstrates that your skills with Excel actually have a really good impact. So think about that really carefully. Obviously, I feel like I'm patronising you saying this, but make sure that you proofread it really, really carefully. Avoid anything generic. So loads of people will use the phrases team player, hardworking, for example. Give examples that demonstrate these rather than just using these words, because anyone can use the words. The examples and the impact is the most important thing. Tailor your CV. So this, particularly for work experience, will make you stand out because a lot of people don't bother. Research the company website, but also social media to target the CV. If we go back to the previous slide, the profile statement you can personalize, and things like relevant interests and skills and achievements you can personalize to make sure they're relevant to that company. So if you're applying to one company, let's say you want to do something to do with computers, if you're applying to one company where you might be doing more programming and one company where you might be doing more spreadsheets, tailor the CV to talk about programming languages, and maybe if you've written any computer games or anything for the first one, and talk about spreadsheets you made and the impact of that with the second one. So make sure it's really, really tailored. You may need more than one CV if you are contacting more than one company. Make sure your email address sounds professional. If your email address is something silly, make a new one, just with your name as much as you can. It is very common for people to see like a silly email address and just sack your CV off. Don't lie or exaggerate. With work experience, that can look really bad for the school. Remember, excuse me. Remember that every year we rely on work experience placements to take Finnan Park students. If Finnan Park students do something like lie on their CV, they're much less likely to take a student the following year. So please, and also complete lack of integrity. Please make sure that you are honest. If you get caught, they will probably end your placement. And always include a cover letter. So the CV, we've talked a lot about personalising your CV for the company. There's only so much you can do that in a CV because the format is quite limited. Whereas you absolutely can include a cover letter that gives much more information about why that company would be a suitable place for you to go. So, covering letter. The most important thing is to remember that you're not going to be the only person interested in a work experience placement, particularly if you're applying to a big company. So what will you bring to the company, and why should they offer you this opportunity? Remember, and it's worth acknowledging, I would acknowledge it, that having somebody on work experience creates a lot of work for a company. So what will you give back? And why have you picked this specific company? Don't say, work experience, you want something from them. Don't just say, I need this. Think about what you can actually give back and what your skills will bring to the company. Now, obviously, the amount you can do in a week is limited, but why are you a good connection for them to make? Often people, and not all the time, but it is not unheard of for people to end up with job offers or apprenticeships off the back of work experience. And your company's first experience of you is your covering letter. Right then, final tips. Think about this now. Do not wait to the last minute. Be persistent. As I said, if you want a placement at a supermarket, contact every supermarket in Coventry. If absolutely needed, you can be flexible with dates. As I said, unless it clashes with exams, I will authorise work experience at any time. There is a work experience form that's going to be sent out. Please make sure you fill in the form. Your placements cannot be authorised if you haven't done the paperwork, and you will receive a letter home with the correct form later in this week. So keep an eye out for that. But this is a bit of a launch of work experience ready for you to prepare for it. And that was it from me. That was the bell. I will stop sharing so you can all go and be on time to your lessons. Have a lovely week. Bye bye.